One sentence healed years of shame for Emily.
What he said to me was, I didn't want to date you, and I don't love you because of what your body can do for me. I love you because of who you are.
So how do you stop infertility from defining who you are? Because this is one of the most common identity shifts I see in this space. For National Infertility Awareness Week, this year's theme is more than. And today we're talking about being more than your journey. Emily's words stop me every time because infertility has a way of quietly shrinking how you see yourself. Over time, it can start to feel like your identity is tied to what your body can and cannot do. You become the diagnosis, the test results, the cycle that didn't work, and you become defined by what you think is broken. And here's why that matters more than people realize. Because when you start to feel broken, you become more vulnerable. More vulnerability leads to rushing to decisions, more vulnerable to saying yes to things you don't fully understand. I see this every day in the industry, and most people don't even realize it's happening. But you are more than that.
And so it healed so much trauma of the years where I hated my body for how broken it was. And I hated my body for what it couldn't do, because here is a man who loved me in spite of what my body could not do.
Infertility doesn't just impact your plans. It impacts your identity. For many intended parents, especially those who eventually consider egg donation or surrogacy, there's a quiet kind of grief that shows up. Grief for what you expected your story to look like, grief for the control you thought you had, and sometimes, even without realizing it, your worth gets tangled up in that grief. You start wondering, am I less? Am I broken? Did my body fail me? But your ability to conceive is not what makes you worthy of love. It's not what makes you worthy of partnership. And it's not what determines whether you will become a parent. Separating your worth from your fertility is sometimes one of the hardest but most important parts of this journey.
And I hope for anyone listening that if you are in a point where you feel like you are not worthy, that my story can remind you that you are loved and you are worthy, and your body is not what constitutes your worth.
That message sits right at the heart of National Infertility Awareness Week. You are more than your infertility, more than the numbers in a medical chart, more than the path it took to build your family. One of the things I've learned after nearly 2 decades in this space is when the conversation shifts away from shame and towards empathy, something changes. People began to see their options they didn't realize existed, and more importantly, they began to understand those options. Because education isn't what slows the process down. It's what keeps it from breaking later. They began to move forward with more clarity and less fear, considering egg donation or surrogacy, exploring a different path to parenthood. None of that means you failed. It means you're continuing to build your family in a way that's possible for you. It takes courage. If you're in the middle of this right now, if you're wrestling with what your body hasn't been able to do, if you're considering next steps you never imagined you would have to consider, let this be a reminder. There isn't just one way to build a family, but there are healthy ways to walk that journey, and you deserve to walk it with clarity, dignity, and support. You are more than your journey, and your story is still unfolding. If Emily's story resonated with you, you can hear her full episode and more conversations like this on the Create a Happy Family podcast. Stories like hers have a way of reminding us that we are not alone in this. After her own journey, Emily turned her experience into a mission, creating the Hopeful Mama Foundation, where women can find community, resources, and the support they need to navigate their own path. You can find out more at hopefulmamafoundation.org. You don't have to navigate this on your own.